we'll start alphabetically, where I would ask the dear panelists to basically give 2 to 3 minutes initial comments and discussions on any of the topics that this panel will discuss, the topic that's nearest to their heart. And alphabetically and also by seniority, I would ask Mr. Alex Sharabi, Chairman of Mubinil, to start the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't know how many of you noticed the title of today's conference. I first want to congratulate Jawad and his team for their choice of words. I mean, the title is Post-Convergence from Unshared Certainties to Shared Uncertainties. And I welcomed the opening remarks and thought that they were very thoughtful remarks of Her Royal Highness when she talked about kind of the shifting sands in the region, in the Middle East. And it's amazing how we witnessed in Egypt, where I come from and where I live and work, the first kind of application of technology in starting a true revolution, and so using social media. So I don't want to kind of philosophize on this, but indeed it is not just the uncertainties in the future or we are facing in our respective areas in the ICT and media, but also in our region as a whole. I would like to, with your permission, Jawad, just make a few remarks about LTE. We heard Dr. Abdul Malik earlier this morning talk about HSPA. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, some people estimate that HSPA Plus will stay with us maybe for the next 5 years. But whether it's 2 or 3 or 5, we know that there are newer technologies with higher frequency efficiencies that are coming online, and clearly LTE is one of those significant technologies that we are all gearing up and preparing to various degrees for.
When we talk about convergence, when we talk about LTE, when we talk about 3G, again, it's a dream for us as Palestinians to have this kind of spectrum, because the spectrum for us is a big issue. It's a basic agenda, it's a basic element on the agenda of liberating Palestine. And that's a problem when we always talk about liberating the market in Palestine, we mean liberating the Palestinian market from the Israeli occupation. And that's always the case. We operate under minimum amount of frequency, 4.8 megahertz, part of it shared with the Israeli operators, unfortunately, and our competitor has the same frequency, minimum amount of frequency for 2G. And 3G, it's part of the final settlement negotiation. So when we talk about having a Palestinian state, the question of Palestinian refugees all over the world, then 3G becomes an issue on the table with the Israeli authorities. So I don't know, maybe by the time we get hope for 3G, we start thinking about LTE instead of making the investment for 3G, make the investment for LTE. Maybe it might become more economically feasible for us to go and think LTE, just to be realistic, because it's going to take some time until we come and think about 3G. However, we face the same challenges as other operators in terms of building network investment and more capacity, and the idea of becoming bumping types for the content providers and other issues that the panel will be discussing. And I hope we'll be covering all these issues, you know, when we discuss all these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Ammar. So basically, we'll expect 4G in Palestine before 3G?
Maybe, I think so. By the time we get approval for 3G, yes. Thank you. Too late.
I'll give the floor now to Mr. Hatem Douidar, CEO of Vodafone Egypt.
I think it's a very big topic, innovation, that needs probably a whole conference just to talk about LTE and what it would bring rather than one session. We have seen that in the past years, whatever speeds, whatever capabilities and capacity on the network we can provide the customers, these end up being filled very fast. So LTE coming and being available to the customers in our region, I think is inevitable. I think we will see many LTE implementations maybe starting from next year over the next 5 years. And I think that it is still, despite there's lots of talks about the device manufacturers getting more of the value chain, the application, and so on, there is still a huge possibility, and there is a huge importance for operators to still create differentiation using the network. So having more reliable networks, having faster speeds, and having the capacity to deal with all the current information that the customers need is very important. And I think I echo some of what the colleague said in the earlier session, and maybe what Osman talked about, the 3 screens, that today we're not only talking about the mobile screen, we're talking about the computer, we're talking about the TV screen at home as well. And as these applications become more and more nomadic, people are now rarely using the computer just at home. People between using tablet computers to using netbooks and PCs are moving and want to get the same quality and same experience that they get at home wherever they are going. So innovating in the network and making sure that there is differentiation is a very important element for all operators to consider in the coming years. And that will also be needed as the content becomes more sophisticated and more bandwidth hungry. And as we're talking high definition content, for example, this will require more bandwidth and therefore will require more investment in the networks. I think where we need to be as an industry more intelligent in the future is the pricing, because there has been a quick move in our region to all-you-can-eat prices, maybe faster than the return that we're getting on our investment. And we're seeing margins, of course, varying between the different countries, but we're seeing a significant drop in margins, which will impact the rate of investment in the future. So we need to invest. We need to invest in the innovation in the infrastructure, not only in the applications, not only in the devices, but we need to do it in a smart way. We need to price it in a way that provides the customer with great value, but at the same time, give us the ability to continue investing in the future. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. To start with, I'm sorry for being late. Actually, talking about the LTE, I think my colleagues have covered most of the issues. And I think the LTE adoption among the pioneers in the Middle East or in our area, because we need to separate our area into two clusters, 2 groups. But looking at that adoption for the pioneers, I think we will be doing a bit higher than Europe itself. And I think we're expecting that it will be closer to 10% by 2014. And this is where we believe we will be having a strong start. LTE, it's a fact, it's coming, and I don't think it's something that we should debate. We've started to see some of the operators in the region, specifically in the Gulf region, between Etisalat, Vodafone in Qatar, and Mobile in Saudi Arabia. They have plans, and I think we will start seeing some commercial launches before the end of this year. I would say the ground is ready for that. If you look at our consumer behavior, they are more, I would say, ready comparing to the 3G when it comes from the 2G, from 3G to LTE. It's a matter of we have bigger ground. People they are using for the high speeds. It's just one step ahead or higher than that. So demand is on the high side. Reliance on mobile, it's on the high side. And I would say the competitiveness, and this is where we start seeing a very competitive approach between the operators. And this is a fact. Just want to separate between the GCC countries, high ARPUs, different purchasing power, rather than the Middle East, i.e. Jordan, Egypt to a certain extent, of course, Syria, Lebanon on the other countries. So we will have a totally different games, but different ball games between those groups. But it's coming. I think in Jordan, it has a different thing, and I think spectrum, as my colleague have covered, that spectrum is an issue. If you look at Oman, they are working at 2.6. Some countries, I think Kuwait in the 800 and 3 point something. LTE, it goes from 700-800 to the 4 gig that you can play on that one. Looking at Jordan in specific, if you don't have spectrum parity, where you don't differentiate and there is no edge among the operators on a different band, then we have an issue.
I feel overshadowed here because they're all mobile operators, and Yala just represent the satellite industry. So I will try to hold my own here. I will talk about a different kind of conversion, which is something that in the middle of what we are doing, and actually it's our business, which is high definition. It's one thing for sure, it is coming, it's happening now worldwide. We're just a little bit behind here in the Middle East. But all the directions are going toward that, and this conversion is definitely taking place faster than a lot of people think. It's a very exciting time for satellite operators because today with the huge sum of TV channels now broadcasted, if only 50% of those converted, 50% of those TV channels converted to high definition, the current capacity on Arabsat, Nilesat, or even YaLive will not be sufficient enough to accommodate this. A lot of people talk about high definition, but it's a big myth, really. We did an interesting market study in 6 countries in the Middle East, Morocco, Egypt, Saudi, Kuwait, UAE, and Lebanon. And to our surprise, a lot of people think that they are watching high definition already. A lot of people think by just buying a high definition TV, they are automatically watching HD. And the funny part is when we ask them to list the channels, some of them listed the channels like NBC, and Sam Burnett, who is missing, by the way, here, he said, if that's the case, maybe I don't need to upgrade to high definition.